Hello there and welcome. In this video, I want to give you 10 tips and tricks for the late game of Rimworld. We're going to be talking about those things that will help you out when you are either preparing for your endgame or in the middle of the endgame. With that, I mean the scenarios that will finish a run once and for all, be it the construction of a spaceship, be it the hosting of your royal dude from the royalty and ending. All of these scenarios have something in common. The game will put you on high pressure, and they will usually happen when the threat scaling of the storyteller is at full maximum and the attacks will be as vicious as they can get. So here goes a couple of things. I hope it will help you. For me, at least, it was very helpful to complete a couple of games. Now, first up, medical supplies. Number one thing you should have, and I can't stress this out enough, blue medicine is amazing to patch up people quickly. Glitter world medicine is really good to patch up people even when the doctor is crap. Why is that so important? In the endgame, you get attacked a lot. And it is quite easy to lose either your doctors or your doctors get gunned down, and having some good medicine and some good medical beds available just makes the survival chances so much easier. And I personally find it a very, very good precaution to stockpile a couple of Glitter World meds just for that scenario, so you can get your people quickly patched up and keep fighting. Keep in mind also, the quality of the medical tending does influence how quickly the wounds will heal, so there's always a value behind high quality medicine. Obviously, nutriamines and the materials to make yourself your own medicine are also quite good to have. The thing is, the nutriamines that you require can only be bought, so mind you that. Now, number two, prepare your goal carefully. So regardless of what you want to do, think ahead of what you could need and what could go possibly wrong. So for example, if we would wanted to build ourselves a spaceship here, I would start walling off the interior of my base yet another time where I will be actually building that spaceship. Let's give that one another layer, so just we can be safe that nobody will blast through here. And then we can use that area to prepare ourselves and be a little bit more protected from enemies. The idea here is that no matter how you want to end the game, the moment you pull the trigger and tell the spaceship to load up, or tell the Stellark to land, or whatever ending you go for, there will be severe pressure on your colony. And being prepared for these is really, really important. And I found it to be very, very helpful to wall off the area where the actual valuable stuff is at. Be very recommendable. You can wall off your palace area where you have your throne room. We can go for extra securities here while we have the ship's stuff here. You know, there's so many things that you can do, and at the end of the day, sky's the limit. We can always go for whatever options we want to go. You have a sandbox game in your hands, so it's up to you. But the worst thing that you can do is just build the things that you require and just press on go and hope for the best. You should be really well prepared and triple check your preparations before you go there. Which brings me directly to number 3, armoring up. So at the end of the game, there's no good reason not to stock up as much power armor as you can. Get yourself some charged weapons against mechanoids and those. Get yourself a farming area for Devil Strand, so you can wear Devil Strand clothing in addition to your armor your head and the torso of your people as good as you can. Every little thing helps, and there is no good reason to hold back your silver, because brings me directly to number 4, manage your wealth. When you are wealthy, the attacks will grow more severe. This is especially in the late game interesting, and if you have large amounts of wealth that are sitting around, it really pays off to invest them into guns, into armor, into consumables, whatever. just don't sit on that wealth. The interesting fun part here is that whenever we buy something with silver, we actually lower the total wealth of our colony because we always buy with a deficit. So when you have that feeling that the attacks are getting too hard for you, you can effectively lower the wealth of your colony by just investing your money or your valuables into stuff that makes you more combat ready. And yeah, that works. And it's a really smart thing to do too. Number 5, be prepared for all sorts of attacks. You should have a working kill box for those nice frontal attacks. You should have your base interior guarded against drop potters, breachers, and the worst. You should be able to defend yourself against sieging enemies that just sit out there and attack you. And to make matters really worse, you should also have a strike team that can attack stuff around you in the world. The worst of the worst will happen once you go into the end game. And even if you just sit it out and you're not going to launch a spaceship, the attacks of the storyteller will grow so vicious that eventually you should also be prepared for everything, even if you are just sitting on your rear end and waiting for whatever is your goal. I mean, sandbox games. At the end of the day, I just want to show you one thing here. There is a amount of time where the storyteller slowly ramps up the difficulty. At some point, as you see here, you can also make it as a time-based thread. There will be a maximum impact of the time component. At some point, the time doesn't play any role anymore, and all of the severity of the attacks is strictly governed by the total wealth in your colony. Up until a certain point, there's a time factor involved, and you can actually also reset that by resettling on a different tile. But for endgame scenarios, if you're building a palace or a spaceship, that just doesn't pay off. Anyways, let's talk about number 6. Losses make future attacks easier. The fun part about the endgame is that whoever might be dying is making the rest of the attacks a lot less volatile. Since, like I said, by the end game, the severity of attacks will be mostly influenced by wealth, people are actually also quite a substantial part of your wealth. Therefore, you can rest assuredly that whoever you lose during the end game will increase the chances of survival for the rest of the people. And here's a random fun fact. Maybe I'm bad at this game, but maybe it's just what it is. In the late game of every session that I successfully completed, I have lost at least 30% of my people because the attacks were just too vicious to avoid. The random stray shot that killed somebody, the random injury that I couldn't fix in time because, dozen scyther wounds need to be tended quickly, but it's always a little bit complicated. Don't worry if somebody dies, you are on the last meters, you are on the finale, and their sacrifices will be remembered. Brings me to number 7. Mood, drugs, and recreation. Your worst enemy in the late game is the expectations of your folks. Expectations rise with wealth, and usually the endgame colony of yours results in at least high expectations, and that is troublesome. Therefore, you should arm yourself up with really, really well staffed, geared up bedrooms, but I personally have found, and recreational rooms, but I also have found that a supply of stronger drugs can sometimes make all the difference. Who cares if the people are go juice addicted after the finale, if the finale is just what wins you the game? Therefore, feel free to use these items that you usually wouldn't use because it is one hell of a situation. And stocking up on these substances can give you quite the edge on really problematic attacks, especially when your people are beaten up or tired and still need to fight. That's when these substances shine. Now, number 8, ally yourself. What I really found was that forming up alliances and calling these guys via comms console was a godsend during the endgame scenarios, because if you feel totally overwhelmed with a situation because, like I said already, people are left and right wounded and can't fight anymore, calling your allies to help is exactly that little thing that can help you out. Alliances can be formed quite easily by either trading a lot or just drop pots of valuable goods to your neighbors until they love you. There's various ways and means how you can do it, but at the end of the day, I have found that alliances really were a massive asset whenever I felt like I don't know how to work anymore. Which brings me directly to the next one, number 9. It's also a nice asset when you don't know how to work anymore, and that is consumable items. So, besides the guns and everything that we got, exotic goods traders sometimes give you nice items like psychic insanity lances and stuff like that. Almost all of these items are really powerful and can easily turn the tide. It's also the time for items like shield generators and whatever you can muster up. All these one-shot items, if you have any of them lying around, now is the time to use them. The best time to use them, as a matter of fact. And therefore, yeah, I feel like especially items that influence the area or whirlwind generators and such can sometimes give you that breathing room that you need. I also like rocket launchers and various things. You get the idea. Now, last but not least, number 10, difficulty matters. So, the severity of the late game scenario is strictly linked to the difficulty that you impose to yourself. The higher the threat scale, the more horrifying the attacks will go. At the end of the day, when you notice that you're no longer enjoying yourself, it is no shame to lower the difficulty. On the other hand, if it was your idea to make it hard for yourself, know that the higher the difficulty, the more effort you must take to beat back the enemy. On higher difficulty levels, I would recommend to have more than one kill box, for example. That works out always quite nicely to filter the enemies through several systems that slow them and kill them off with traps and such. The other option that I always find helpful is using prisoners and slaves to mitigate the losses, so you just use meat shields where you can. There's plenty of options that you can take when the difficulty is high, but if it isn't enjoyable for you, I strongly recommend go for just a smidge less difficulty and retry it again, because at the end of the day, it's meant to be a exciting finale, but not a frustrating experience. So your mileage may vary. I personally draw the line at 155% threat level. That is basically where my pain feeling is setting in, and I'm not enjoying myself anymore. You know, you can't go as far with the standard settings as losing is fun, with 220% threat scaling and lots of other nasties, but at the end of the day, it should be tailored to your enjoyment, and if you feel like losing is fun is still too easy for you, man, go for it. There's so much you can do, but the most important thing is enjoy your story and tailor it the way that you want to experience it. That is one of the biggest strengths of Rimworld after all. Okay, so thanks for watching this. I hope it was helpful for you. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you would add into this whole topic, because I feel like there's definitely a lot we can say about this whole topic, and a lot more we could also say about it. So let me know, share your wisdom. I am always very interested in other opinions, because, you know, I might have been playing this game already for a very long time, but there's always something new. I'm always eager to find out. So leave a like, leave a subscribe, consider donating to the channel if you feel like supporting my work. That would be great, and I'd be very grateful for that. Thanks go out to all of you supporting, and thanks for watching this video up until the very end. Deeply appreciate you taking that time, and see you on the next one.